3, 2.
What, are you the director now? What's up, guys? Welcome to Moverse the World. A big podcast today. I got what I can guarantee to everyone is the most famous guests in Hollywood who have not been accused of sexual assault or harassment. It took a lot of work. I had a lot of guests booked, and then it turned out that they were all sexual predators. And so without being able to find any clean souls in this town, I just flew in my parents. So welcome, guys.
Hi, Mo.
Hey, Mo.
Before we get going, are either of you sexual predators? I don't want that to come out after the show.
Wait, does that count your, how you got here?
My conception?
Your conception?
Absolutely counts.
Okay, then I don't know what to say.
Well, let's get into that.
Not that we know of.
Not that you know of. Okay, good. Well, thank you guys for being here. I wanted to have you on the podcast now that you're in town. You just straight off a plane from Japan, so I know your faculties are down.
Hi.
Sure? That's how Japanese people talk?
Hi.
Hi.
Is that what you guys learned over there?
Hi.
Hey.
Did you just walk around Japan for the last 3 weeks just making that sound?
Hey.
They must have loved you guys. I feel like you just did America a massive disservice walking around. Okay, so you're doing the little karate sounds.
Yeah.
Good. Well, this is why I wanted you on straight from the plane, because I feel like you're going to be loopy and a little out of it, and I'm going to really get to the core of what you're all about. My parents.
Ooh.
Have you ever been on a podcast before?
No.
Do you know what a podcast is?
Not exactly.
In the grand scheme of show business, how unimportant are podcasts in your eyes?
If they're important to you, they're important to us.
Oh, you're a sweetie. Dad?
When I think about pods, I think about that old movie, The Night of the Living Dead. Remember with the pods who came?
That was the Cocoon.
Oh, the cocoons. Okay.
Off to a good start. Referencing a super old movie incorrectly. Well, yeah. So podcasts are basically something that young people do. I guess the when you were a child growing up in the '40s, Dad, what would you say was the equivalent of a podcast? Maybe like one of your neighbors in the Bronx just sort of yelling at his wife. Sort of.
Well, my mom used to listen to a radio program every morning called Claiborne and Finch.
Well, what was Claiborne Finch about?
It was like a morning program, and they would do interviews and comment about things.
That sounds like a good show. What was who was Claiborne, who was Finch? What were their different personalities? Because usually one's kind of wacky.
My mom listened to it mostly. I didn't listen to it,
Okay.
I was watching like Captain Video. That was the big thing,
Captain Video, sort of a
and
superhero.
The Lone Ranger, yeah.
The Lone Ranger, yeah.
Captain Video was always fighting about his chief kind of enemy was Ming the somebody.
Wait, you're completely wrong. This is not Captain Video, by the way. First of all, I'm going to go on record. There's never been someone named Captain Video. You're talking Ming. That was, Aaron, who was that?
That was Flash Gordon.
Flash Gordon! Do you remember Captain Video? You're describing this to me. I'm like, there's no way there was a guy named...
There was a Captain Video.
No, there was not a Captain Video. Aaron, can you look up online?
He was also referring to Invasion of the Body Snatchers with the pods.
Oh, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. So, well, all right, well, and that's... Okay, hold on. I'm going to look up right now if there was a Captain Video. Describe Captain Video to me real quick before. I just want to hear what your thought is on it.
Well, it was a space program. And
what was he all about, Captain Video?
Well, he was fighting creatures from other planets, and he was kind of like.
Shit! You're right. Captain Video and his Video Rangers was an American science fiction television series that aired on the Dumont television networks between 1949 and 1955.
And I was born in 1944. 6 years old.
All right. Researcher Alan Morton estimates there was a total of 1,500 episodes of this fucking show? Good Lord, because it was a radio show, and then it became a TV show.
I want to let you know that when I was 7 years old, we were one of the first people in our apartment house to get a TV.
Wow. And by the way, to any viewers, that remains still the most impressive thing about my family. That for one glorious week in 1946, my dad's family had the choice TV set. I always find that interesting about you guys, because you guys raised me out in the country a town of 700 people out in Boonville in the middle of the woods, raccoons all around the house, animals everywhere, pitch black at night, deadly silent. And you both grew up in like apartment buildings in New York City, the Bronx, and then mom from Brooklyn.
And you were raised in the woods, and you live in L.A. So,
Right. And you guys still live in the woods.
Well,
What was it about your experience? Did you enjoy living in an apartment? Because I always kind of envy that. Like growing up in the country, I was always like, there's no one to fucking hang out with because I can't. Everyone is 9 miles away, or they live in the middle of a weed farm, and I can't get there. But you guys lived right on top of each other. Was that fun, or did you realize you were poor at the time?
I actually thought it was terrific growing up in an apartment because not only did you have friends, but you only had friends. You had millions of friends just exactly in your grade, and then the people above you and below you had their own group. So it was very good socially.
So when you were watching Captain Video, there was Arnie and Chet and Little Jimmy and the whole cast of characters. Hershey, and all Jews probably, right?
Italians and Irish.
Yeah.
Italian, Jews, and Irish. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What was the? Was there like people hooking up with other people in the building and stuff? Dad, you ever
At
get it?
6?
Well, not at 6 necessarily, but like growing up in apartments, was there like, when
Making out
making out?
in the basement.
Sure, Mom. If you seem like you have some details.
I grew up by Jones Beach. It was making out under the boardwalk.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. So, what's the first time you made out under the boardwalk, Mom? Let's hear about that.
No, I'm not
What
going
do
to
you
tell
mean?
you.
Come on. Go tell us some romantic stuff that happened under the boardwalk.
No,
Okay.
I'm not going to
Dad,
talk about it.
tell us about a time you got a hand job in the apartment building. You guys are really going to be sensitive guests, huh? You're not going to.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep,
All right.
yep,
Fair
yep,
enough.
yep.
Every time I
Let me
tell you
what
so-
if I play this song?
Under the boardwalk.
Well, all right. So, Mom, you're a young girl in 1953,
Oh, when the sun beats down and burns the tar
and you see a young Italian guy named Pepe. All right.
Vinny.
All right. So, you guys have been married for 50 years.
Almost.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Soon.
How does that? Did you ever, when you got married, was there any conception in your mind that of what you were getting yourself into? Like, did you realize at all what marriage was at that time, as opposed to now looking back at it now 50 years later?
I think it's impossible. When you look at anything 50 years in the future, you don't ever know what that's going to be like. No.
What's the main difference in terms of what you thought marriage was going to be like compared to what it actually has been like, aside from your wonderful sons?
I'm going to let you take that one, Dan.
I mean, okay, because here's the thing. Like, this is why I'm asking, and I'm just going to let you gather your thoughts, because it seemed like it was taking you a while there. I have, I'm not married, and I want to get married, and in my mind, I have an idea of what it is, but I wonder, like, how wrong am I? Because everything else I've ever tried to do in my life or done, I've been pretty much wrong about, or I look back on it now and been like, oh, that was the wrong attitude, or that I had the wrong idea of what I was really doing, or my intentions were not what they should have been. Okay, you're getting married. When was it? 1967 or something? 68. Here we come, almost 50 years later. Anything?
I didn't have a single thought about
You didn't?
about that. I was getting married. I was in love with Benna. She was a great woman, and I just said,
Fuck it. Ooh. Okay.
And along came Mauve.
So, and you weren't pregnant at the time, right?
Nope.
no.
Okay.
But I
11 years later.
Okay.
So I didn't think about it in any kind of realistic way.
But if I think about it now,
Yeah.
I think like that I'm amazed that we're still together after 50 years. You don't think about what that lifespan is going to be like at all. And there's so many opportunities for everybody to kind of split up and move on. And so for me right now, it's like an amazing blessing that our love has grown and changed. And
You've also out-married a lot of your friends. I mean, how does that, I mean, like when you got married, you had I know early on in your lives you had a lot of friends who were also married, and now almost all of them are divorced except for you guys. What's been your secret? Are you juicing? Are you on the roids?
We don't take it for granted. So to keep it juicy, yeah, exactly. do things together so that we're not constantly going off and doing our own thing without any connection to each other.
Yeah, I mean,
Although we do that a lot, but it's important to keep the connection. And tango dancing, doing something like that.
Yeah, you've often
certain-
talked to me about that, to me and my brother, about how to make a relationship work is finding activities you can do together.
Well, I also think you have to find you have to find somebody who you're attracted to and you're compatible with. But then so much of it is what you do on the fly, what you do the rest of the time.
I just heard you say attracted to, and I want to just kind of dive into this. Talk to me about the attraction you feel to my mother. Let's hear about the attraction you feel to my mother, the woman who gave birth to me. Let's hear about it. Let's hear about the attraction you feel to my mother.
Come on, Dan.
Let's hear it. Let's hear the attraction you feel to my mother.
There have been several immaculate conceptions in the history of the world.
All right. So, okay, how many times did you guys go out before you slept together?
Who remembers that?
All right, Mom, think back on the way you used to conduct yourself. How many times would you guess you would make a guy wait back in the day?
Okay, I do remember a story.
Let's hear the story.
Okay, so I was in college, and Dad was calling me, and I told my roommate, if that guy keeps calling me, just tell him I'm never in.
Really? Well played, Danzel. So why had you made such a bad impression?
I don't know why.
Yeah, why? What the fuck was that about?
But that was 2 years before.
2 years before
That was-
what?
Oh, because you guys had gone out for a couple times. It didn't work.
Yeah.
And then 2 years later, you gave it a
Yeah.
second shot.
Yeah.
That's weird. So what about it at the time were you skeptical after the first, before the second time?
I don't know. We just didn't energetically. We
Just
just
wasn't
didn't
juicy?
connect. We just didn't connect.
Okay. But Dad, did you feel like you connected?
I can't. Yeah, I can't remember. I wasn't like I was like devastated. I mean,
Okay.
we didn't go. We
You
went,
bounced back.
We went out a few times, and then I think somehow we had gone out and nothing happened, and then we sort of met up somehow
In the village. In New
Well,
York.
no, but we met up in Buffalo and then went to the village. Oh, this is an interesting thing.
Yeah.
What happened is that
Because you were in college, you were in medical school.
I was in medical
So
school.
you were probably crushing a lot of undergrad strange, right? I mean, you're a doc. You're going to be a doctor. There's a lot of hot chicks around. You're like one of the big guys on campus.
Yeah.
Went to a primarily Jewish school, so a Jewish doctor's probably that's number one target.
Yeah, it definitely was number
For the
one
Jewish
target.
mothers, anyway.
Yeah.
All right, but this is the story.
Well,
So-
were you doing pretty well?
I don't want to brag.
Let me ask you again.
Shake your body, don't stop, don't miss. All you ladies pop your pussy like this. Shake your body,
So would
don't
you
stop,
say
don't
would you
miss.
say you were
Just
doing
do
pretty
it.
well?
Pretty
Do
well.
it, do it, do it, do it now. Lick it good. Suck this
Getting-
pussy just
doing better
like
and
you
better.
should.
Okay.
Right
So
now,
you're really starting to
lick
hit your
it
sexual
good.
stride.
And then I ran into Ben's,
My back.
and
Lick my pussy
I was
and
about
my
to
back.
go to
Yeah.
for a summer in Amsterdam.
So that's when you were going to really start
Yeah.
getting it on.
And I took my friend David Shearer
yeah.
threw a party in his girlfriend's house in a loft in Greenwich Village, in the East Village.
In the East Village.
And Tiny Tim came to perform.
Whoa, who's Tiny Tim?
Listen, Tiptoe Through the Tulips.
Tiny
Big-
Tim. So was
big-
he famous back at the time?
Yes.
He was
we had
weird
one
and famous.
Weird, one famous song.
Well, he looks
Tiptoe-
fucking crazy.
He
Tiny
was.
Tim looks like Steve Coogan meets Marilyn Manson.
He is. Play Tiptoe.
So this is the party where you met Mom at.
Yeah.
This
No,
is-
no, I
No,
took
this-
her to that party.
Oh,
and
you took her to that.
And that impressed her.
This is the guy impressing
That's
you, Mom?
him.
This guy?
This was a hit record.
Because he was just so outlandishly different.
This was the panty dropper?
No,
This song? This is one of the worst songs I've ever heard.
it was a cult
It
hit.
wasn't his song. It was just that he had the courage to be like that.
It was a cult hit.
It was a cult. Yeah.
This is some weird shit, man. That is some
But
weird,
we were
that is
probably
weird.
pretty stoned.
Yeah, you must have been high as fuck. But I mean, this was like in 1962, right?
No. 68.
Okay, so you went to a party and this guy was playing, and Mom, you were impressed.
We sort of connect. Remember, I said I didn't connect to Dad. I felt like he was always in his head so much.
Yeah.
So, but then he loosened up, and
Yeah.
we were on the streets of
I mean, that's-
East Village.
That's
and-
generally your issue with Dad, right? It's sort of getting him loosened up, getting him into the tango, sort of getting him. He's taking off his jacket now. He's really loosening up right now in studio. Like, I mean, that's sort of like the difference between you guys, right?
Well,
it's
but
the
al-
cerebral and the physical, right?
But also,
yeah, I could say that.
but also Ben's had changed in those 2 years.
Oh,
She was kind of like when I first met her, like Little Miss Long Island best dressed. And
Oh,
then
so you're saying
got-
she was a real Jap?
and then she got into the sort of hippie-ish thing.
Okay.
Which made her more interesting.
Oh, so in the beginning you thought she was a little boring, a little. What were you saying? You would say a little Jappy?
Superficial.
Ooh.
Do you remember? Do you remember something she said that was superficial?
No.
Okay, but then you
Prove it.
But
Prove
then,
it.
but then you met her again, and some of this is coming in.
There must be some kind of way
And she was becoming that hippie flower child.
You got it.
say the joker to the thief.
Yeah.
There's too much confusion.
I would say I like Jimi Hendrix a lot more than Tiny Tim. I'm gonna go out and say that.
I'm going to say that too.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you connected. So then it was
Well,
on.
then, no,
But
this,
then,
this,
then I had to change Dad.
no.
Oh, okay. So Dad, you thought she was superficial. Mom thought you were kind of nerdy and boring.
No, because I thought he was too much like my mother wanted. A Jewish doctor, so
Right.
I had to turn him into more of a wild man hippie.
Oh, but
Oh,
this,
wild man hippie.
you know how I sealed the deal?
Okay.
I wrote all these letters, postcards from Amsterdam saying I was doing this and doing that, and her mother found them, and that sealed the
No,
deal.
that what? Who sealed
Wait,
the
wait,
deal?
what-
Bob Dylan
Wait,
sealed
hold
the deal.
on. Let's back it up. You said you're writing her letters because you met.
Postcards.
Okay, so you go to you meet. Things don't work out. 2 years later, you take her to Tiny Tim, and
But then
for some reason that worked. Things worked. You thought she was a little more hippie and interesting. She thought you were a little less cerebral and boring. And so then, but she's worried because you're too much what her mom wants. Then you go to Amsterdam for a study abroad.
right.
And you just sort of
For the
things-
summer.
For the summer, so things are just a few dates, and then you go away, and then you start writing these postcards that say what?
Just exaggerating all the things I was doing.
You were just making it sound like you were living it up and going nuts out there. Oh, so you were exaggerating that you were smoking lots of weed and having a blast.
He probably was.
Okay. But the truth is, but then your mom found it and didn't like him, and that made you like him.
No, my mom always liked him way better than she liked me.
Okay. Well, that's a whole other podcast.
But then when I
But
came,
no, but I want to just clarify this point. But you're saying your mom found the postcards.
He's the one who's talking about the poster. I didn't mention them. He mentioned them. So,
So,
it's
Dad,
your,
what are you
it's your
talking about?
story.
Yeah. I don't. What
it's
do you
not
mean?
even true.
I don't know. It's your
Did
story.
you make the whole? Is this like the pod thing where this is just incorrect?
No. Dad always claimed that it was Bob Dylan that sealed the deal.
Oh, how does that make sense?
Well, actually, what I wanted to say though is after I came back from this, then things really
Escalated.
So,
She-
so if I'm just gonna, because I feel like you guys aren't connecting the dots here. I think you sent the letters back. It sounded like you were trying to make it sound like you were living a little bit of this kind of lifestyle, if I'm correct. Oh, that Jefferson Airplane, drugged out. So you're saying I'm living it up in wild. Doris, mom's mother, finds it, says this guy might not be such a goody two shoes, which makes you like him more.
aha,
Exactly.
bingo.
Bingo.
Okay. So you come back from Amsterdam.
And then things were
Things
rolling.
just rocking and rolling.
Rocking and rolling, Bailey Avenue. In the basement, she had a basement apartment, and we were listening to.
The Doors, the Stones.
And then,
and-
who was that guy? Not Neil Young, but Tim Buckley.
Tim Buckley.
Tim Buckley.
Tim Buck,
On a-
and that was your Get It On music?
Yep, and it was a '78 record.
Okay, which song was it that you guys would get it on to?
Tim Buckley.
Hallelujah.
That was
Once I Was.
Once I Was.
All
There you
right,
go.
so this is the scene. You guys are in the
Yeah.
thing. This is now
68.
Seven.
8. No, 8.
7.
8.
Oh, I like this. This is good. So you went off, you connected, you went off, you sowed your oats a little bit, paid for a couple blowjobs probably in the red light district. Or not. Came back. Tim Buckley. Now things are kind of getting centered. This is nice. Okay, I like it. And you said, let's take this ride out to California. Let's leave New York City. Let's go to San Francisco. Is that kind of, am I right?
Kind of right.
Did you, now, as two people who got out to San Francisco during the Summer of Love, right?
Right.
Were you aware of how incredible that moment was?
Absolutely.
You knew that it was going to be like a summer that everyone would talk about for the rest of time.
We were not out there for the Summer of Love, actually. We were out there the summer after. But the big thing
You were there this summer with the sticky mess after the Summer of Love?
No, but the big thing that
But
everybody...
you came out there in 69.
We came out
The
in
Summer Life was
69.
60,
But we
68,
spent
okay.
the summer of 68 in Berkeley.
Okay, so you were close enough.
But a big thing that really turned San Francisco on is, in Buffalo, well, two
Oh,
things.
that's
Two
right.
things. In Buffalo,
Where you guys were living in Buffalo.
when we were living together, the San Francisco Mime Troupe came and performed.
In
and
San Francisco.
doing one
In
no,
Buffalo.
In Buffalo.
Okay.
doing one of their earliest shows called Watermelon Man.
Well, my favorite story about Buffalo in the 60s is
Janis.
the Janis Joplin
Janis
story.
Joplin
Can you
story.
tell us the Janis Joplin story? But let me just cue it up first, because this story, I always tell people like how much cooler you guys are than me, because you have this great story with Janis Joplin. Like I once took a selfie with the lead singer of Everclear, you know. But so your stories are much more interesting. So so Janis Joplin's, play a little of her music. There we go, Janis. So talk to us about your experience with Janis Joplin, Dad. Break it down for us. Really rocking out over there. It's a really, I like this look you get when you dance to this old music, Dad, because you really look like you're on drugs at the time. All right, Dad, tell us your Janis
All
Joplin
right.
story.
Well, that was the album, Cheap Thrills.
Yeah.
Okay, so Big Brother and the Holding Company and Janis Joplin were a San Francisco group,
Uh-huh.
but they hadn't really gone national. And her roommates,
This is 67.
Susie Miller, her roommate Bobby Miller,
No, Susie K.
okay,
Wait, so this is 67, 68?
67. All right, I'm going backtracking. We're in 68, but
Okay.
he had gone out to San Francisco
Uh-huh.
the summer before and heard Big Brother and the Holding Company and Janis Joplin, and he was like the student booker for the Best Buffalo Festival of the Arts. Well, he had booked them, and then they released Cheap Thrills and became a national hero, but they were already booked.
So they had to do the gig.
They had to do the gig.
Okay.
So they were doing a tour, and they were coming from Cleveland, and Bobby Miller calls me up and said, "We got a call from the road. Janis Joplin is sick. She got stomach pains."
And you're a medical student.
I'm a medical student. He said, "Can you come and examine her?" But I said, "But I'm only a medical student." He said, "Oh, well, come on out. Go do it." We'll
And you
see."
knew Janis. You were a fan.
Oh, yeah. We all had heard.
So you must have been thrilled. I mean, that's a big deal.
Okay, so I go out there, and one of the things that was really striking is we all sort of had let our hair grow a little bit, and we wore bright-colored ties.
Yeah, you guys were like wannabes.
Wannabes. But they got off the bus, and they were really hippies.
Yeah.
Long, long hair. And Janis Joplin was very small, not a very attractive woman. All right, so what it turns out is that Janis Joplin has period pains, menstrual cramps,
Okay.
but she wants codeine.
Right.
So I say, I can't write it. As a medical student, you can't write a prescription for codeine.
Why not?
Because you're a medical student, you can't write any prescriptions.
Oh, so what did they think you were going to do?
Okay, so this is when the great line. So I say to Janis Joplin, they're staying. Well, first of all, there was a tremendous letdown because, in those days it was, the rolling, the Big Brother, and they were hippies, and they were going to be going around in their bus. But no, they were staying at a Holiday Inn.
So people were like, "Is these fucking phonies?"
Yeah. So then,
What did you guys want them to do? It's Buffalo. It's
All right,
cold,
okay.
right? So you wanted them to sleep outside.
Well, in those days,
In their bus.
In those days, we did. But
Okay.
so I say to Janis Joplin, "Oh, well, listen. If you're not feeling well, the Holiday Inn has a doctor on call." And that was when she said her classic line.
What is?
Holiday Inn doctors don't give you nothing for your ills.
Holiday Inn doctors don't give you nothing for your ills.
Right.
That's great.
But we got
So so she just wanted to get fucked up, and you didn't realize at the time, like by you suggesting the Holiday Inn doctor, you didn't realize that she was just basically trying to she was the equivalent of like going to a doctor in Hollywood to get a weed card by saying you have a headache, basically.
Well, no, I mean she probably did take codeine for menstrual cramps, but she obviously also.
I think Dad missed his opportunity.
You think you could have banged her?
I think he could have, given her an exam.
Whoa!
But at any rate,
Yo, what a dream to give Janis Joplin a gynecological exam during her period. That sounds like every man's dream.
But at any rate, we got to sit right in.
Sorry, I was just thinking about you giving that gynecological exam. So
We
you
got
to sit right
in
up front?
front row of hearing them sing all these songs from Cheap Thrills. Incredible.
It was
And
pretty.
so when you saw her, she was only, what, 26?
She died.
Died at 27, I think, right?
So it was
she was probably even younger
24,
than that.
24, yeah.
It seems like such a wise thing for a 24-year-old to say, Holiday Inn doctors don't give you nothing for your ills.
She was old beyond her time. She had done
Yeah.
a lot of living.
Okay. What would you guys say? Okay, so you were married for 10 years before you had kids. I always find that fascinating.
11.
11, okay. And I mean, that was that something you intended to do? Did you have that conversation, Because I've gotten older now. I'm 36. I don't know if you're aware of that, but I'm...
36?
Yeah, I know. That means you're really fucking old. But I always think, like, God, I wish I had gotten married or met someone earlier so I could be with them for 10 years but before I had kids like you guys did, because I feel like that's a great way to cement your relationship. But I'm sort of like, if I do that now, I'm going to be, like, basically dead by the time I have kids.
We're going to be basically dead by the time you have kids.
I don't know about that. You guys are pretty spry. I mean, I'm not going to wait 10 years. So you guys are pretty spry. I'd love to be able to give you guys some grandkids at some point.
I don't think there's any right way, like you said, looking back into the future and the past. There's no right way. The people who had babies earlier, now have lots of kids and grandkids and stuff, and we waited because we weren't ready really to start that kind of living.
Was there a moment when you had kids where you're like, "Fuck, this was a mistake. Our lives are not as fun"?
Never.
Really?
No, because we
I
waited
see,
11 years.
Okay,
we
so
had our fun.
You had your fun.
No,
The group sex, the wild times in Haight-Ashbury Park,
I wouldn't say
the drugs, the heroin.
This is what I.
Were you there?
You guys were at Altamont, though.
We were.
The big Altamont, the one where the guy got stabbed, the Rolling Stones. And if I remember correctly, you guys told me you were on acid and you were really scary because all the Hell's Angels were going.
Altamont was scary.
We weren't on acid.
I thought you said you were on acid.
No.
At Altamont.
Well, Altamont was scary because they hired the Hell's Angels to be the police,
Sure.
which
No,
was
but
ridiculous.
We were not on acid.
But you've done a lot of acid.
Some.
Some would say not enough. What do you think you could handle even half a tab right now?
I wouldn't take anything I would buy off the street right now.
What do you think's the hardest drug I've done? Sometimes I asked Chaya, my brother, about this. What are the things we've done that Mom and Dad would be surprised about? And I wonder if there's anything we've done in our lives, because we're both pretty square, if there's anything we've done, anything that you guys would be surprised about. For Chaya, he's so square. Maybe one time he didn't wash his hands before he ate a salad. One time he didn't use a whole bottle of Purell in a week.
And you?
I mean, I've done some more filthy stuff, which you guys have been aware of, I think, at different points. Are we, like, looking at me now, what is your thoughts? Like, okay, when I was born, first of all, growing up, I mean, my brother obviously he was much easier to handle as a child, although he got sick when he was a little kid. But other than that little selfish act of his, he was probably a lot easier to be around. Was there a time when I was wild as a kid where you're just like, this dude's heading for the big house?
No.
Or
you guys
had
had different personalities from the get-go. Even in my belly, you had different personalities.
What was I like in your belly?
Chaya barely moved.
Okay. Okay. So if I could do an impression of what Chaya was like in your belly, it would be something like this. This is probably Chaya. Here's my brother Chaya, sort of in your belly. Sort of. Would you say this is a?
Are we going to do music or what?
Is this so this is Chaya in your belly, just sort of a whimsical. Is that about right?
Well, remember he came out and he was translucent.
Right, because he was a little sickly baby, so he was kind of soft. And then this is probably more me in your belly. Would you say that's about accurate? So maybe I'm about 4 months now. Is this more me about 7 months?
You came out
This is me in utero.
and and you came out. You were bright pink and ready for the world.
Okay, this isn't me growing up. This isn't me this is me getting at elementary school. Because I remember myself being a terror as a kid. Like, I would meet your friends, and they'd be like, I remember some of your friends telling me they actually didn't even want to go over to visit you guys when I was a kid because they found me so irritating and annoying.
No, I think that was Prairie.
Well, that was some of my cousins. Well, yeah, he was a pretty pain in the ass too. But no, I think like your brother used to tell me that he hated coming over when I was at a certain point when I was a kid.
My brother hated kids, period.
He was not a big kid lover. But okay, so I wasn't such a bad kid.
You were a kid that had a lot of energy and creativity.
Okay. Dad, what would you say? You're a psychiatrist. Chime in. What would you say? Was I a functional child? Was I a functional child or not?
I think you were very lovable and energetic and fun.
Okay.
And
Was I lovable to someone who was not my father or mother?
I would say that in that case it was 50-50.
50-50, okay.
No, I think school tends to want to shut down creative people.
Well, because wasn't there a time when they wanted to put me in special ed?
No.
I thought there was a time when they wanted to put me in special ed in junior high.
Yeah.
Or elementary school.
There was a time when they suggested your lack of math skills required that you couldn't tell time or do arithmetic, required that maybe you should be put in special ed, but we absolutely refused.
Right.
Well,
Get closer to the mic,
some
yeah.
people would consider the entire Boonville school system special ed, so the bar was
how about,
pretty low.
Yeah, you raised me out in the country in this fucking podunk town, and I'm still fucking the worst mathematician in the school. Okay, so here's something I remember as a kid. I remember thinking or hearing you guys wanted to put me on Ritalin, or there was a discussion of me being on Ritalin.
Definitely.
Yeah, and you wanted me to be on it, as I remember, Dad. And Mom did not.
Exactly.
Okay,
I think that's true.
Let's hear about both of your cases. Dad, here's your case for me being on Ritalin. Go. Hold on. Actually, you know what? Before we get into it, I want to break down. Here we go, Dad. Okay, so Dad, you wanted me to be on Ritalin. Mom, you did not. So Dad, here we go. Let's hear.
It's for the Ritalin.
Let's hear. Dad, break down your case for me being on Ritalin. The Law and Order theme song in the background.
I thought you would be able to concentrate and learn more effectively and study more effectively. And I could see that that was very hard for you. You couldn't sit still to do something.
And Mom, why did you not want to be on Ritalin?
Because I didn't agree on giving drugs to young people, and I didn't know what that meant in your future, and maybe all of your creative talents would be eliminated, and I didn't want that.
Who made the right choice? If you're looking back on it now.
Well, since it was my choice, you got to ask Dad that.
Hard to say.
Really? Hard to say. Looking at me now, you think maybe I should have been on Ritalin.
Well, I think that you really had to work. You had to compensate by working tremendously hard in order to overcome that. I mean,
Well, this is interesting because people always ask me, like, oh, comedy seems like so hard and there's so much failure and ups and downs. And I always sort of tell them, like, I had to go to a tutorial, every day during lunch and every day after school to get through math and science in high school. So I just sort of think I was always sort of predisposed through my own inadequacies intellectually to work my ass off to get somewhere.
No, but then you had that about math, but then you were able to memorize everybody's line in any play you were in. If they forgot a line, you knew what it was. So it's like I think we all have our talents.
Right.
And so we don't all have the same talents. So if you want to, if you want to shut down certain talents, I mean,
Well,
I didn't really agree
speaking
with
of-
that.
Okay, well, speaking of talents, I asked some people online, what are some questions you want me to ask? And one question that a few people have said is, when did you know I was funny? Well, first, I guess I should ask, do you think I'm funny?
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. And you know who thinks you owe her a T-shirt?
Who?
Lynn Archambault, who babysat you
okay.
at 6 months of age.
Okay.
And
So
she
my old babysitter wants a T-shirt?
no, and she said the reason is because remember how many kids she babysat? There were a
Sure.
lot of kids.
Okay.
And she said when she cracked a joke, you even at the age of months old, whatever, one maybe, sometimes was the only one laughing.
Okay. Good. Easily impressed. I don't remember Lynn being particularly hilarious, but apparently she was crushing me at that time. So, okay, was there a time when when did you first think I was funny then?
You were always funny.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Creative, funny.
And a pain in the ass.
Okay. This is what I was trying to get at. You were dancing around that statement before.
No. We used to send you out to the tree, the redwood tree in the backyard.
No.
We were like, okay, you're really funny, but we can't deal with it anymore. Go out and tell it to the tree.
I don't think that's true. You're making
That
that
is
up.
true.
You would never tell me to tell
That-
jokes to a redwood tree. That's not true.
It is true.
I
It is
don't-
true.
I don't
the
believe
tree in
that.
the
I don't-
backyard.
No, you did not. Mom, I never told jokes to a redwood tree. I wish that were true.
No, we
but-
didn't say jokes. We just said
Go
give,
talk to the
give
redwood tree.
Yeah, give the tree your energy. We can't take any more
Wait,
of
so
it.
you're telling me growing up with a brother, two parents living out there, I was too much for all three of you? You go hang out with a tree?
You remember how small our house was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you say go hang out with a tree.
Yeah.
Dad, as a psychiatrist, did you support that therapeutic technique?
I was working. I don't remember.
Okay. I don't know if that excuses you.
I don't think when you were little you were telling jokes so much, but you're just,
Energetic.
energetic and funny.
I guess I should probably have the tree in here and interview the tree to find out what.
But as you
old
got
tree
older, you start. I mean, the thing that I always think about, which we should really talk about, is both the voice and pancakes.
Oh yeah, I used to do an impression of my dad as a psychiatrist who would say like, "Well, what do you think your biggest issues are?" I don't even know if I'm doing it right, but it was always like, what was the solution?
No,
It was always
you
like,
should-
"You need to have more pancakes," or I don't know what it
Exactly.
was.
It was hilarious.
I used to be able to do a great impression of you. You used to always think that if I could get you, if you could get famous, I'd be famous by doing an impression of you. So when looking at me now, what would you say, knowing me for the 36 years you have, if you had to give advice to my future wife, whoever that will be,
Oh, God.
what would what would that be? She's gonna marry me. Some woman out there is gonna marry me, and you're gonna want her to love me and stay with me. What are the things she needs to know about me to be able to make it work?
I would hope that she would already know those things about you
Mom,
since
you're
you
avoiding the question. Mom,
since
you're
you
avoiding the
decided
question.
to get married.
You're avoiding the question.
No.
Come on. She would know some things, but you're my parents. No one knows me better than you. So, certainly there's got to be some advice that you would give her about me.
I would say that she'd have to understand that on the one hand, you're sort of a joke cracker and a wise guy and seem sort of hard-edged, but you're actually very sensitive.
How dare you?
And getting
How dare
to
you?
get your and you can get your feelings hurt.
Really? Okay. You think you could hurt my feelings right now?
I think I just did.
You did. Okay. So you would warn my wife that he might seem like he's got an edgy shell, but you could hurt his feelings, so be careful because he's a pussy.
No, I wouldn't go. I would say I wouldn't. I wouldn't go all the way to that side. I would say that that he's more sensitive to criticism or to slights or to lack of support than he may appear.
Okay. That's probably true. I could respect that. Mom?
I agree with Dad. Everything you said.
Really? Okay. That's the main one?
Well, that's one. I mean,
What would be your advice to my wife sexually?
I'm going to hold
Things
my
that-
ears for
things
that
that
one.
I need sexually. What do you think that would be? Well, if you had to guess, how many women do you think I've had sex with?
Do we want to go here?
It's my show. We're going now. When I go on your podcast in Boonville, we'll talk about what you want to talk about.
All right, I'm going to
Make a guess.
I'm going to pick an even number, 100.
No way.
You think less, Mom?
Less.
Oh, fuck you. You think why, Mom? Why does that seem too? You don't think I'm fuckable?
I don't know. It seems like a lot.
Jesus, what would your number be? Not for you, obviously, but for what would your guess for me be?
I've never thought about that answer or that question.
Dad, have you wondered?
What?
Like, who do you think's gotten laid, me or Chaya, my brother? Who do you think's gotten laid more?
I'm not going to go there.
Absolutely, I have. I want to just make that clear. Absolutely, I absolutely have. And I'm going to go on the record and say I've done it better. I'm just guessing. I feel like Chai is probably. Wouldn't you say out of the two of your sons, I'm probably the better in bed? If you had to guess, Mom. I mean, just think about our personality types. Wouldn't you guess I'm probably the better in bed out of your two sons?
What qualities do you think someone needs to have to be better in bed?
All right, let me just. Here's an example of what I would imagine Chaya is like in bed. This is just gonna, and his wife can wait on this. But this, if I had to guess, what Chaya's like sexually, my brother, this would be sort of like this.
I knew
This is sort of his sort of laconic, long-bodied, slow pump.
Whoa.
And this is probably more, comparatively, this is probably more like my style.
I hope you're going to edit all this out.
What up, Mom? Take a look, you hypnotized.
So once again, me, Chaya, me,
With your thick lips.
my brother, and here's you guys.
Oh, God. You going to do tango?
Baby, farewell, my own true love. Go away and leave you.
When I was trying to cue this up, I thought I was playing the Coney Island Baby, which is a song that you guys danced to at your wedding, but I didn't realize it was some stupid one-man barbershop quartet version. So I would like to take that back. That's not.
No,
that's not what you guys are like during lovemaking.
We actually did not dance to Coney Island Baby at our wedding. We
Oh,
did
yeah.
Otis Redding's "Try a Little Tenderness."
That was our wedding
That
song.
was your.
That was
Really?
our wedding
Yeah.
song. We didn't. Otis Redding was not singing it at our wedding. My
Yeah.
uncle Archie's band.
So after
had to
Tiny
do it.
Tim, Mom, who's the most famous? Oh, this is your wedding song, right?
Yeah, this is it.
So nice. So nice. I don't even know if I know this song.
It's great.
Oh, she may be weary.
Ooh.
And young girls, they do get wearied wearing that same.
Iconic.
That's a beautiful way to start a life together. This song. And you wanted it to be Tiny Tim, and then Mom talked you into this.
Otis.
Beautiful.
Otis, yeah.
You guys have always had very good taste in music. I will say that.
And that leads to Otis's other famous song,
Which is what?
"Dock of the Bay."
That's it. By the dock of the bay. You wouldn't go there. I feel like now you might go there. I feel like
No.
you guys have loosened up into this podcast. Now you would probably tell me a story about making out underneath the Coney Island boardwalk, Mom.
No, Dock of the Bay was sitting in San Francisco Bay. So
Whatever. It's a bay. It's a body of water. It's not break bones, but all right. So here I am now. So are you not surprised? Am I kind of where you thought I would be at this age? Like when I started comedy, did I go further? Have I gone further or less far than you thought I would?
Further.
Further?
Yeah. I actually was just thinking about it, that I think it's actually amazing how far you went. That the chances were so...
Considering my meager amount of talent?
No, just considering how hard a career it is and how competitive it is and where you started from,
Yeah.
doing those open mics down at, 50 Mason or...
San Francisco. You
Yeah,
were
yeah.
there. You used to come to the
Yeah.
open mics. The
Yeah.
Ali Wong, Moshe Kasher, Hassan Minaj, Al Madrigal. Well, he was already gone. But, yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of people came out of that
Yeah.
scene.
So,
Nico Santos, now big-time comedy star. Yeah. Remember that guy?
I don't remember any of those people.
Do you know any of the people I just named?
No, the people I remember
All of
were
them.
that...
They're all very famous now.
No, I know them, but I don't remember them performing with you in San Francisco in 50 Mason. But the people I remember...
Moshe Kasher.
Moshe Kasser
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
And then what was the couple who now...
The Seroffs.
The Seraphs
Yeah,
at Cobb's.
Yeah, not a couple anymore.
Yeah, I know, but I remember them.
Yeah.
But no, so I was amazed. I'm just simply amazed that you were able to do the whole thing.
It's a fucking grind.
Oh,
It is
yeah, I
crazy.
don't see- But I mean, and most people when I talk to them about that you're in comedy or this or that, and they always say, "So what's his day job?
What's his day job?"
What's his day job?"
And
Is
you
he
tell
a
them
waiter?"
he makes 14 cents a month doing this podcast.
No, but I say he
wish-
has,
I wish that were
But
true.
I say, you know.
Yeah,
he-
no, I mean, it must be weird, isn't it? I mean, you guys must get people must laugh when people ask you what your kids do. You say, "Oh, my son's a partner in a law firm." What's your other son do? He's a comedian. I mean, it's just a classic. It's a classic 1-2. You know, it's not like, oh, he's a lawyer and the other son's an accountant. You know, it's polar opposite sides of the spectrum. But I would say, probably when we were kids, you would assume we would end up doing something very different, right?
Oh,
Based on our
yeah,
personalities.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because we were pretty different from the time we
Right.
were born.
But you know, I always felt that you guys were half of the whole,
Yeah.
and that your differences made a beautiful whole together. And you
Right.
and Chai are really, really close,
Mhm.
even though you're very, very different.
Right.
So I think you each of what you have, the other really needs.
Yeah, siblings are interesting. I mean, who do you think you both have fucking nutty siblings?
Don't say anything about my brother.
Well, I'm not, but I'm saying you both have had very interesting siblings, right? Could you answer that? Would you say you're both the most normal people that came out of your own household?
I don't really want to talk about my brother because
Okay.
he's died.
He died.
Yeah.
But, Dad, your siblings are pretty weird. What? I mean, do you think back on your own household? I mean, when you were raising your own family, do you think back on the family of your origin? What you want to model about it, what you don't want to model about it?
Oh, you always do.
Yeah.
I think you always do
Yeah.
as an adult.
Yeah.
I would be remiss to say if I whatever that's a bigger word than my pay grade, but I would say as a compliment to both of you, thinking forward on what I want my family to be like, what I want my life to be like, I would love it to emulate the house that I grew up in. You know, I think it was so wonderful, and incredible, and supportive, and loving, and really mind-boggling now as an adult to realize how fortunate and unique that experience is and was and continues to be. Because so many people I've met, their families were fucking nightmares, and I didn't realize at the time how lucky I think I was growing up with that.
Okay,
Even
so
though Dad wanted to put me on Ritalin and turn me into an emotional robot.
okay, so at the other end, what wouldn't you want to model?
What? About our household?
Yeah.
I don't, honestly, I can't, I mean, we could have had a dog, I guess. We always had these fucking cats. Didn't even know how great dogs were until a few years ago. But I don't know. I mean, one thing that you guys have always been so supportive, and one thing that I think you guys did as parents, especially earlier on, is, it was a weird position because I always struggled academically, and Chaya, or my brother, always crushed it academically. And somehow you didn't make me feel like dumb, like somehow, and that must have been weird, especially in the time when you're giving us grades. And I remember, Chai would get $100 if he got an A, and I would get $100 if I got a B. Now, if I was smarter as a child, I probably should have been able to connect the dots to realize what that actually meant, but I didn't really. It just it somehow just seemed like, I guess, so what I guess I'm saying is, I didn't feel like I was, had a handicap at a certain point, because I think anything I was into, you guys supported me so 100% on, so, even when it was I wanted to be a baseball player, where you knew there was no chance in hell of that happening, it made me feel loved and supported the whole
But
time.
you know what? It was not only our family, but I think it was the community at which we lived in.
Yeah.
And look at all the creative people that came out of Mendocino County.
No, the place where I grew up, a lot of talent, a lot of people. Who the fuck are you talking about, Mom? Who are the creative people? I thought I was with you for a second, and now I'm sort of wondering what you're talking about.
No. Look at you and the all the people that in Ukiah that came out of the space program.
I am the most famous person to come out of that school, except for that kid Shiloh Fernandez, who's an actor. He edged me out.
Oh no! And and the flute teacher's son. What's his name?
The flute teacher's son.
Yeah, who taught Chaya flute?
Well, he's not. He's
not
a
famous. He
professor.
works for a casting agent.
No. He's
Andrew.
the director of a
He's
theater.
not famous. He's nothing. I was on Chelsea lately 40 times. Come on. Not that that's impressive, but I mean, what has been your least favorite show I've ever been on?
Chelsea lately.
You hated watching that, didn't you?
I thought, yeah. I mean, yeah. It's a very. She's very hard edged, and it was a very hard edged show. So.
I would always remember this is my impression of you. Anytime you'd watch me on that show, you'd always be like, I thought you were great. I thought you were very, very funny. I mean, the show was so stupid. It's so stupid. Who are these people? Who cares about any of these? And what was the show before? The Kardashians?
Yeah, right.
Who is this shit?
E! channel.
I was always be like, no, I mean, God, I think it's dumb, so I can't imagine what you guys would think. What's your favorite show I've ever been on? I know I haven't been on a lot of stuff in the last few years, so think back.
Well, I loved your comedy. I loved your comedy special at Denver. I heard
The
that
one's
was
on Amazon, yeah.
that was really memorable.
Okay.
I loved that. That was
You
so
were lucky
fun.
enough to be in the audience,
That
right?
was really fun.
That was an interesting. So when I shot the comedy special, that's on Amazon. You guys can watch it, called Negative Reinforcement. I remember I flew in there with Dad. You know, Mom, you didn't want to go for some reason, right? You guys were going on a trip the next week, or you wanted to give us our time. Was that
No,
it?
no. What happened was it had gotten rescheduled.
Right.
Okay, and so I was going to go original to the original date, but then they got rescheduled right before we were going to go to Rick's wedding.
Yeah. No, and honestly, it was kind of nice. We got to do a father-son trip out there. And I remember, like we landed, and on the day of, and I was feeling such a good mood. You know, what an honor, what a nice thing for a young guy to, or not even young guy, but whatever, to be able to fly out there with your dad. He's coming to watch your special. You know, I was so happy, and I realized I'm too happy to do my act. I can't do my act, which is named Negative Reinforcement, the name of the special, which is angry and negative, if I'm in this good, grateful mood with my father. So, Dad, you remember, we checked in the motel. I said I had to go get in the zone. I went and bought a pack of cigarettes.
I remember that.
Had 4 cigarettes, ate a bacon greasy sandwich, and fucking drank like a Red Bull. Just I tried to like poison my own body and literally tried to meditate on being unhappy. And then I killed. Because for some reason, you know, I guess comedy doesn't really come out, at least for me, it doesn't really come out of joy and positivity. But the weird thing is that brings me to one of the other questions, which I think you have already answered, but someone said to me, they go, ask your parents if you're really this hard-edged, cynical person inside, or if you're not really like that, or you just pretend to be that on stage.
See, that's what Dad was talking about.
Yeah, I think you're right. So you probably got to it. Yeah.
And so my question to you is,
Uh-huh.
as a comedian, does one keep the same persona their whole life, or is there any fluidity available, or is there not? Are you locked in, like certain actors are locked into only being acting?
I think I would say the best comedians are people who can evolve and with you know, who they really are at that time in their lives, and to be the most authentic of that self. You know, what I've struggled with comedically is to be able to get the audience to laugh as I alter the things I want to talk about, you know? And so that's obviously, I think, me just struggling developmentally as a comedian. But while I will want to talk about different stuff, I haven't found it yet that I can get the audience to come along with me and to want to hear me talk about that stuff.
And why do you think that is?
Lack of talent.
No,
at this point.
no.
I think I just haven't gotten, you know, I haven't gotten to the point yet where I'm able to, like, you know, vary it up in a way that I can show other parts of myself.
Or maybe it requires like more, giving it more time or something. I don't
Well,
really
no,
know.
I think it's
Yeah.
that's what I don't mean lack of talent, like I can never do it. I just mean like intrinsically it's there, I'm sure, but I haven't sort of been able to kind of put the thoughts in the right way and loosen and open myself up in a way that's funny yet.
But I think part of that is where you are in your life and where you're not in your life.
What does that mean? That sounded deep. I don't know
Well,
if it
I
is.
mean, for instance, a lot of people your age are married, they have kids, and they're beginning to do comedy based on that.
Yeah.
And you're not a young man, but you're still single.
How dare you.
And so your stance in life is the subject matter is not. You're not going to write
I'm not single. I'm dating a penis surgeon. I am.
right.
So I should.
But
So
what-
you're saying basically I need to evolve my life so I can evolve my act.
Your act will evolve as
Right.
your life
Yeah,
evolves.
No, I wouldn't say you have to evolve your life to evolve your act. Your act will evolve when you evolve to some of the other stages of life. I mean,
Right.
because like, you know, you see a lot of the comedians who are your age or a little older, and they're writing comedy about picking up their kids, and
Yeah.
you've seen a million sitcoms about how couples deal suddenly when they have kids.
Yeah,
and
so I mean, because I kind of feel that way too. I think I've been single and all this shit for a long time, and I've kind of run out of shit to talk about sometimes with that zone. But then again, I don't know that. I mean, you know, what's the other option? I'm like the comic who talks about getting married and having kids. Like that's not necessarily interesting either. You know what I mean?
Well, it's not a question of being interesting.
Get close to the mic, Dad.
It's not a question about being interesting, but there's a sort of prototype of the single guy and playing video games and this, you know what I mean? And you're not.
Playing
You're
video
not.
game. When the fuck have I ever talked about playing video games?
When you were younger. I mean, what I'm saying is, well, I'm thinking about those guys. What was that? That one of the earliest sitcoms.
Captain Video?
No, the earliest sitcoms that you wrote. about those two guys who saved.
Oh,
the world.
yeah. He's referencing a sitcom that no one read or ever saw that I wrote. But yeah, there was some guys who were playing video games. I hear what you're saying. I know what you're saying. I think you're right. I think what you're saying is as your life evolves, your act will evolve. So keep evolving your life.
Well, to be open to
be
what
open.
comes out and not to be locked into a rigid
Yeah.
box of who you think you are.
Right.
Because we're way beyond.
Dad? I'm going to ask you first when we're wrapping this up, sort of. But where have you evolved to since you met this woman about 52 or 3 years ago? What's the biggest evolution you've done inside? I'll put on your favorite song while you answer this. Well, it's not your favorite song, but Smoke Your Eyes.
Smokey.
So what is your biggest evolution you made in the last 33 years?
To really learn how to love. That when you first meet somebody, and especially when we were really young, you have no idea what that means.
So what did you think it means and what does it mean?
I had no idea what it means, and what it means, you can't put it exactly into words. But that I just can say it that way, learning how to love someone.
It's a little general. I'm not sure that there's a lot of takeaway there. But that's your answer? Final answer?
Final answer.
All right, Mom, I'm going to put on your favorite Bob Dylan's. I asked you that same question.
Looked at the sky when the children were babies. Played on
What's
the
been your
beach.
biggest evolution and growth in the last 53 years?
I saw you go by.
Learning how to fuck. No, okay, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm
God.
sorry. That was
That was really
that
off.
was
I
in-
hope you're going to edit
I
that
will
out.
edit that
Okay.
out. I'm a pro. So, Mom,
Okay.
what was your biggest evolution you made in the last 53 years?
I think it was, for me, I never liked being grounded. I being a double air sign, I've always liked,
Right.
and sometimes I felt like Dad grounded me in a way that I didn't really want to be grounded. But
Would it be
but
remiss
now
to
I
use the word suffocation?
no. But now I'm really happy to have been with Dad and being with Dad all these years. Like, he taught me something that I didn't know, and how wonderful grounding could be, and how liberating grounding could be, and how loving I am to be in a relationship that's grown and grown and grown and gets more and more loving is like a wonderful blessing that a lot of people don't have. And I feel very blessed to have that in my life, to have your dad in my life.
Do you love this woman more than you did 53 years ago?
Yes, definitely.
Do you love this man more than you did 53 years ago?
Absolutely.
Do you both love me more than each other?
No, but
No, a flat out no. Not even it's close.
No, but I
Could
was.
you at least love me more than my brother? At least answer me that.
I just want to say that it's going to
Jesus.
be our 50th anniversary, and I hope one of you are planning something for that.
I don't want to give away the surprise. Shit, it's
Especially if it doesn't exist.
It's one of those real surprise parties where it's like, surprise, there's no party. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast, guys.
It was a real
This
pleasure.
is great.
It was a
Well,
lot of
hanging out
fun.
with you on
Yeah,
on
it's
how
been
you
fun.
spend some of your days.
This is all I do. This is after this, the week is done. Are you going to listen to this?
Absolutely.
Have you ever listened to my podcast?
No.
Oh, God. All right, I want to take back everything I said about you guys being supportive.